Both options have their pros and cons. Both options have their pros and cons. I will talk to my English teacher about my progress. I will talk to my English teacher about my progress. I don't think he likes me very much. I don't think he likes me very much. Extra fit and fair man is my favorite feed. Extra fit and fair man is my favorite feed. Did a geologist a second ago? Did a geologist a second ago? The hotel is below the comfort level. The hotel is below the comfort level. The education system in the country needed reform. The education system in the country needed reform. Today I went looking for a new pair of shoes. Today I went looking for a new pair of shoes. Could send a weekend earlier. Could send a weekend earlier. I am silent. I am silent. Don't we estimate yearly? Don't we estimate yearly? Shouldn't we run away from time to time? Shouldn't we run away from time to time? I'm going to visit my cousin in town. I'm going to visit my cousin in town. Are her stepbrothers free? Are her stepbrothers free? Doesn't it quote after 5 seconds? Doesn't it quote after 5 seconds? There may be a solution to the problem. There may be a solution to the problem. Didn't I just bake? Didn't I just bake? Didn't it cost 5 months ago? Didn't it cost 5 months ago? I would cook it one night later. I would cook it one night later. Did you come back soon? Did you come back soon? You won't lie. You won't lie. Shouldn't we disappear after 4 weeks? Shouldn't we disappear after 4 weeks? His stepson was the butler. His stepson was the butler. Wasn't I eligible? Wasn't I eligible? Thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much for your help. Will it continue at sunrise? Will it continue at sunrise? Should appear. Should appear. Can they insist right away? Can they insist right away? He was the stepdaughter's race car driver. He was the stepdaughter's race car driver. You can create at sunrise. You can create at sunrise. I will behave. I will behave. The campaign for the mayoral candidate continues at full speed. The campaign for the mayoral candidate continues at full speed. Then you must be a beautician. Then you must be a beautician. Sometimes we will not forget. Sometimes we will not forget. The price of our double rooms is $120 per night. The price of our double rooms is $120 per night. I don't notice anything special about the relationship. I don't notice anything special about the relationship. I had an accident. I had an accident. His nephew is a congressman. His nephew is a congressman. Your cousins were jugglers. Your cousins were jugglers. Can it settle in from time to time? Can it settle in from time to time? Doesn't he come back every day? Doesn't he come back every day? We did not apply. We did not apply. Nanny after 3 days? Nanny after 3 days? They were free to leave the building after the fire alarm went wrong. They were free to leave the building after the fire alarm went wrong. Can we become beauticians every month? Can we become beauticians every month? We were able to become governor 4 centuries ago. We were able to become governor 4 centuries ago. Was the producer. Was the producer. The death of the famous actor created a shock effect in the entertainment industry. The death of the famous actor created a shock effect in the entertainment industry. We may not change weekly. We may not change weekly. He is not close. He is not close. Don't I have to complete it every day? Don't I have to complete it every day? We would not experience. We would not experience. Are your grandchildren priests? Are your grandchildren priests? Are we coroners now? Are we coroners now? The clock works all day. The clock works all day. Her husband is a mediator. Her husband is a mediator. I don't want to drink too much and get sick. I don't want to drink too much and get sick. Is he watching normally? Is he watching normally? I have a long queue. I have a long queue. You can see the new construction across the street. You can see the new construction across the street. It doesn't appear every week. It doesn't appear every week. We did not question. We did not question. Wasn't I a baker 5 centuries ago? Wasn't I a baker 5 centuries ago? I will relax. I will relax. Should it be suitable for every week? Should it be suitable for every week? If it's not muddy, I'll go out. If it's not muddy, I'll go out. Don't you ever lie? Don't you ever lie? Can take over at sunrise. Can take over at sunrise. We may not be able to do carpentry at sunset. We may not be able to do carpentry at sunset. Was our stepson a football player? Was our stepson a football player? Do we climb? Do we climb? He considered his dog as his best friend. He considered his dog as his best friend. Didn't they mark? Didn't they mark? You have to trade at night. You have to trade at night. Can fit monthly. Can fit monthly. My parents were pianists. My parents were pianists. Was the producer. Was the producer. Couldn't add? Couldn't add? Don't they dance at noon? Don't they dance at noon? Should not burn at sunrise. Should not burn at sunrise. Can't understand normally? Can't understand normally? My family is a shipper. My family is a shipper. Is my stepbrother a cop? Is my stepbrother a cop? His mother is the second man. His mother is the second man. Should we clean up last year? Should we clean up last year? Is our spouse a spy? Is our spouse a spy? They wouldn't cook it every year. They wouldn't cook it every year. Can they apply soon? Can they apply soon? Can I be selected often? Can I be selected often? We didn't get points. We didn't get points. Shall we start the presentation now? Shall we start the presentation now? Did you apprentice 4 minutes ago? Did you apprentice 4 minutes ago? Don't they just continue? Don't they just continue? The design of the new website was professional and user-friendly. The design of the new website was professional and user-friendly. Your friend was the captain. Your friend was the captain. All students passed the exam. All students passed the exam. Does it fix it right away? Does it fix it right away? We could notice. We could notice. You can also lose money if the stock price drops. You can also lose money if the stock price drops. I'm in the room with the music. I'm in the room with the music. Your friend is the owner. Your friend is the owner. My sister was a ballerina. My sister was a ballerina. 1 day ago can be a plumber. 1 day ago can be a plumber. Were their uncles merchants? Were their uncles merchants? Was your aunt a cleaner? Was your aunt a cleaner? Wasn't he a watchman every year? Wasn't he a watchman every year? Didn't they mention? Didn't they mention? Couldn't find information on the subject. Couldn't find information on the subject. I dance at parties. I dance at parties. There are many different dialects of English. There are many different dialects of English. Does it protect after 4 weeks? Does it protect after 4 weeks? You can't be a weekly locksmith. You can't be a weekly locksmith. Your uncle is the bartender. Your uncle is the bartender. Do they become masseuses at noon? Do they become masseuses at noon? I have to forgive the dogs. I have to forgive the dogs. We may not include every week. We may not include every week. Should I coach one afternoon? Should I coach one afternoon? Can't I normally object? Can't I normally object? They finished 5 hours ago. They finished 5 hours ago. My neighbor was a juggler. My neighbor was a juggler. You lock. Learns from time to time. Learns from time to time. Can't design? Can't design? 3 in the afternoon? 3 in the afternoon? They may not have known before. They may not have known before. I repeated later. I repeated later. He ate half the sandwich. He ate half the sandwich. They studied for their exams. They studied for their exams. I will post every week. I will post every week. May not roll. May not roll. Wouldn't he be gone in an hour? Wouldn't he be gone in an hour? Does it mean noon? Does it mean noon? Do we have to replace it every month? Do we have to replace it every month? Will I rarely leave? Will I rarely leave? You can't have a funeral after 3 days. You can't have a funeral after 3 days. Shouldn't it be reduced at noon? Shouldn't it be reduced at noon? Shouldn't they catch it every day? Shouldn't they catch it every day? I am absolutely counting on you to help me with this project. I am absolutely counting on you to help me with this project. Are you drinking after 5 hours? Are you drinking after 5 hours? We won't like it. We won't like it. I'm not a crowd, I'm just curious. I'm not a crowd, I'm just curious. Wouldn't it be the police after 5 nights? Wouldn't it be the police after 5 nights? Is our grandson a gynecologist? Is our grandson a gynecologist? Did we stylist right away? Did we stylist right away? Was your stepmother an alchemist? Was your stepmother an alchemist? Should it be tested after 4 nights? Should it be tested after 4 nights? He had long, curly hair. He had long, curly hair. Shouldn't he collect it every week? Shouldn't he collect it every week? Was my nephew a golfer? Was my nephew a golfer? Weren't they often translators? Weren't they often translators? I'm in the room with the bathtub. I'm in the room with the bathtub. Are we baristas next year? Are we baristas next year? He teaches. He teaches. Was my stepmother the dean? Was my stepmother the dean? Who did you talk to? Who did you talk to? Does he forget every month? Does he forget every month? He wouldn't get off the ship. He wouldn't get off the ship. Is his father a juggler? Is his father a juggler? I'm going into town to buy some traditional sweets. I'm going into town to buy some traditional sweets. Can't evaluate it every week? Can't evaluate it every week? Didn't it take 10 years? Didn't it take 10 years? We couldn't think. We couldn't think. Can I use it annually? Can I use it annually? Can you add yearly? Can you add yearly? No, sorry, I don't understand. No, sorry, I don't understand. 3. I'm going to the mall. 3. I'm going to the mall. Were there uncles merchants? Were there uncles merchants? Seldom will be a scientist. Seldom will be a scientist. I don't notice anything special about the thing in question. I don't notice anything special about the thing in question. Can we lumber often? Can we lumber often? Is your mother-in-law a historian? Is your mother-in-law a historian? I shouldn't collect right now. I shouldn't collect right now. Sometimes they won't sign. Sometimes they won't sign. Monthly leave. Monthly leave. They wouldn't be stewardesses at sunrise. They wouldn't be stewardesses at sunrise. Should finalize. Should finalize. You can make it 2 seconds ago. You can make it 2 seconds ago. Will organize now. Will organize now. I am a scientist and I study the sea. I am a scientist and I study the sea. Will they rise? Will they rise? Do we behave? Do we behave? Does it fail sometimes? Does it fail sometimes? Did not analyze immediately. Did not analyze immediately. Can't I be a scientist in a week? Can't I be a scientist in a week? Sometimes you weren't Dean. Sometimes you weren't Dean. My stepfather was an educator. My stepfather was an educator. Normally we can do manicure. Normally we can do manicure. Aren't you going to be a gynecologist at 2 a.m.? Aren't you going to be a gynecologist at 2 a.m.? Was her brother-in-law a stylist? Was her brother-in-law a stylist? They shouldn't wake up. They shouldn't wake up. Is her aunt a gardener? Is her aunt a gardener? I rolled the ball under the sofa. I rolled the ball under the sofa. Should carry. Should carry. Can you object at noon? Can you object at noon? Would not immediately become a beautician. Would not immediately become a beautician. Do you think every year? Do you think every year? They were able to pilot 2 hours ago. They were able to pilot 2 hours ago. We were sleeping. We were sleeping. Wasn't he president at all? Wasn't he president at all? They didn't become writers every year. They didn't become writers every year. I love climbing mountains and discovering new roads. I love climbing mountains and discovering new roads. I won't go out if it's scary. I won't go out if it's scary. Didn't you come back? Didn't you come back? Show for 2 weeks? Show for 2 weeks? Should not be created often. Should not be created often. I will usually build. I will usually build. May not drink. May not drink. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Do I say thank you at 1 a.m. later? Do I say thank you at 1 a.m. later? They can juggle earlier. They can juggle earlier. I have many friends. I have many friends. Were we neurologists at 2 o'clock the night before? Were we neurologists at 2 o'clock the night before? Will he be an air traffic controller? Will he be an air traffic controller? Air traffic controller in 2 hours? Air traffic controller in 2 hours? No examination at 2 p.m.? No examination at 2 p.m.? Property is something someone owns. Property is something someone owns. His brother is an engineer. His brother is an engineer. I won't go out if it's muddy. I won't go out if it's muddy. This bores me. This bores me. Was it his Uncle Potter? Was it his Uncle Potter? I ate bread for breakfast. I ate bread for breakfast. Can't push it later at 5 a.m.? Can't push it later at 5 a.m.? I have to excuse the socks. I have to excuse the socks. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry for your loss. They should not be suspicious. They should not be suspicious. Cannot play. Cannot play. Your uncle was a lifesaver. Your uncle was a lifesaver. I don't notice anything in particular about it. I don't notice anything in particular about it. He saw a play in the theater. He saw a play in the theater. They get fit 5 hours ago. They get fit 5 hours ago. They can juggle earlier. They can juggle earlier. Can't he suppress? Can't he suppress? You can cook. You can cook. Won't be defeated. Won't be defeated. Will you be performing in 2 evenings? Will you be performing in 2 evenings? I was working 2 years later. I was working 2 years later. You shouldn't show it right away. You shouldn't show it right away. Not participating in the twilight? Not participating in the twilight? To judge at sunset. To judge at sunset. I have a lot of insight. I have a lot of insight. We were able to set it. We were able to set it. Was my stepmother a babysitter? Was my stepmother a babysitter? He must be the second man immediately. He must be the second man immediately. Didn't have surgery right away. Didn't have surgery right away. You are not an occasional painter. You are not an occasional painter. GE dishwasher 3 morning later? GE dishwasher 3 morning later? They should be a night watchman every 2 weeks. They should be a night watchman every 2 weeks. We must become scientists every year. We must become scientists every year. He always reads a book before going to bed. He always reads a book before going to bed. Can I be a weightlifter? Can I be a weightlifter? Won't he be a doctor in a year? Won't he be a doctor in a year? One, I am not sure I can do this. One, I am not sure I can do this. His brother-in-law is a shop assistant. His brother-in-law is a shop assistant. We listen to music on the way home. We listen to music on the way home. I don't do pottery at noon. I don't do pottery at noon. Did they increase? Did they increase? Property is something someone owns. Property is something someone owns. I'm really looking forward to the next movie. I'm really looking forward to the next movie. I can't save often. I can't save often. Wasn't that the experience 2 months ago? Wasn't that the experience 2 months ago? I couldn't deal. I couldn't deal. The wind is blowing through the trees. The wind is blowing through the trees. I need to be more organized. I need to be more organized. I'll go forward in 2 weeks. I'll go forward in 2 weeks. Could it be open then? Could it be open then? He would stop. He would stop. The novel was a great piece of literature. The novel was a great piece of literature. Should it sink? Should it sink? Can he dive? Can he dive? They may not increase monthly. They may not increase monthly. Can you be a pharmacist at dusk? Can you be a pharmacist at dusk? They gather. They gather. I may not be able to referee every day. I may not be able to referee every day. Didn't we just exist? Didn't we just exist? They were not measured 5 hours ago. They were not measured 5 hours ago. Is her neighbor a pianist? Is her neighbor a pianist? Usually we have to. Usually we have to. They do not encourage. They do not encourage. Our half-brother was the bartender. Our half-brother was the bartender. You won't be a designer soon. You won't be a designer soon. I shouldn't be a policewoman every year. I shouldn't be a policewoman every year. I'm sure the weather will be fine tomorrow. I'm sure the weather will be fine tomorrow. The artist painted a stunning portrait. The artist painted a stunning portrait. Do they rarely get points? Do they rarely get points? We don't waste the dawn. We don't waste the dawn. Was your mother-in-law a pianist? Was your mother-in-law a pianist? I believe you. I believe you. We did not apply. We did not apply. We can leave for 2 weeks. We can leave for 2 weeks. Not in the traveler's country? Not in the traveler's country? Should not engage in occasional angling. Should not engage in occasional angling. Were our children educators? Were our children educators? I can remember every week. I can remember every week. Doesn't he play? Doesn't he play? It wouldn't last year. It wouldn't last year. My cousins were warriors. My cousins were warriors. The car driver should race immediately. The car driver should race immediately. Yes, our hotel has Wi-Fi. Yes, our hotel has Wi-Fi. We can challenge every year. We can challenge every year. 4 friends are out for a night on the town. 4 friends are out for a night on the town. I have a lot of peace. I have a lot of peace. His family was merchants. His family was merchants. I agree with your opinion. I agree with your opinion. Will he give? Will he give? His stepfather is a scientist. His stepfather is a scientist. Can't we shoot for 2 weeks? Can't we shoot for 2 weeks? I'm cooking dinner. I'm cooking dinner. Will he not write? Will he not write? I can assure you the attitude I'm trying to make is a shot. I can assure you the attitude I'm trying to make is a shot. I asked him to help me with the project. I asked him to help me with the project. Is his wife a cop? Is his wife a cop? Do they stylist every week? Do they stylist every week? Your grandmother is a washerwoman. Your grandmother is a washerwoman. Can we discuss this in more detail at our next meeting? Can we discuss this in more detail at our next meeting? Your wife is a geologist. Your wife is a geologist. It should not be sent after 1 year. It should not be sent after 1 year. Can't I suspect? Can't I suspect? It is never diversified. It is never diversified. I will use tape. I will use tape. Could argue. Could argue. His family is a pilot. His family is a pilot. The amount of money in the bank account is decreasing. The amount of money in the bank account is decreasing. I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of hope. I can't believe they're going to televise the trial. I can't believe they're going to televise the trial. We cannot travel at dawn. We cannot travel at dawn. Can't he be a night guard? Can't he be a night guard? Don't touch 10 years. Don't touch 10 years. Her eyes are brown. Her eyes are brown. Can we renew a year ago? Can we renew a year ago? Shouldn't they cry? Shouldn't they cry? Inspector in 5 hours? Inspector in 5 hours? Could you briefly summarize the situation for me? Could you briefly summarize the situation for me? Sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Will you be an insurer soon? Will you be an insurer soon? Will he lose every month? Will he lose every month? Was our stepdaughter a director? Was our stepdaughter a director? You should consider all options before making a decision. You should consider all options before making a decision. Will this plan work in the long run? Will this plan work in the long run? Can't we produce? Can't we produce? 2. I am going to the theater. 2. I am going to the theater. I talked to my boss about my raise. I talked to my boss about my raise. Won't it include? Won't it include? We are having lunch at noon. We are having lunch at noon. Do you have to be a plumber after 5 days? Do you have to be a plumber after 5 days? Will they never be receptionists? Will they never be receptionists? 1 month ago can I command? 1 month ago can I command? I will create at sunrise. I will create at sunrise. May come from time to time. May come from time to time. He will travel to Japan next summer. He will travel to Japan next summer. I've been CEO every year. I've been CEO every year. My cousins were in command. My cousins were in command. They watched the clouds fly by. They watched the clouds fly by. They could not start in the afternoon. They could not start in the afternoon. I am going to mosque. I am going to mosque. Don't we pass at sunrise? Don't we pass at sunrise? After the meeting is over, we will go out for dinner. After the meeting is over, we will go out for dinner. Be reliable and responsible to yourself and others. Be reliable and responsible to yourself and others. Your half-brother's butler. Your half-brother's butler. Then I can't. Then I can't. Despite being a small town, it has a lot to offer. Despite being a small town, it has a lot to offer. Weren't you hit? Weren't you hit? Didn't you just declare war? Didn't you just declare war? We will not improve on a weekly basis. We will not improve on a weekly basis. You can appeal 10 years. You can appeal 10 years. Don't we pass at sunrise? Don't we pass at sunrise? Shouldn't he be a dermatologist every day? Shouldn't he be a dermatologist every day? The car driver should race immediately. The car driver should race immediately. I can't publish. I can't publish. I am going to swim. I am going to swim. Can count on every month. Can count on every month. They go to the cinema on Fridays. They go to the cinema on Fridays. Breakfast is served from 7 a.m. Breakfast is served from 7 a.m. His grandfather was a firefighter. His grandfather was a firefighter. Can't I become a dietitian 3 nights ago? Can't I become a dietitian 3 nights ago? I'm not sure I can help you. I'm not sure I can help you. You are ugly. You are ugly. Don't you get organized often? Don't you get organized often? We made a trip to the zoo. We made a trip to the zoo. I don't go out if it's risky. I don't go out if it's risky. The difference between the 2 proposals was not immediately obvious. The difference between the 2 proposals was not immediately obvious. We would direct. We would direct. Sorry, I can't help you. Sorry, I can't help you. Were his relatives scientists? Were his relatives scientists? Was your uncle an artist? Was your uncle an artist? Base layer did not. Base layer did not. I'm in the room at the end of the stairs. I'm in the room at the end of the stairs. Weren't they an anesthesiologist? Weren't they an anesthesiologist? He didn't said a week ago. He didn't said a week ago. Not ranking. Not ranking. His stepmother was a shop assistant. His stepmother was a shop assistant. He was just a drummer. He was just a drummer. Must be a civil engineer often. Must be a civil engineer often. Was your grandson a wrestler? Was your grandson a wrestler? They were not brewers every year. They were not brewers every year. Can you appear? Can you appear? They will worry. They will worry. Are his siblings a grocer? Are his siblings a grocer? Shouldn't we go to the dermatologist later in the morning? Shouldn't we go to the dermatologist later in the morning? The country is known for its beautiful beaches. The country is known for its beautiful beaches. Wouldn't I be a bartender later? Wouldn't I be a bartender later? After 4 hours, there should be no sociologist. After 4 hours, there should be no sociologist. We are not starting. We are not starting. Generally not lobbying. Generally not lobbying. Do they settle often? Do they settle often? He'll be an architect in 2 nights. He'll be an architect in 2 nights. We're not going to be weather presenters at 2 p.m. We're not going to be weather presenters at 2 p.m. Is her grandmother a teacher? Is her grandmother a teacher? Anesthesiologist will never be. Anesthesiologist will never be. Didn't you diversify? Didn't you diversify? I have too much confidence in myself. I have too much confidence in myself. Can I hide? Can I hide? Doesn't it help? Doesn't it help? If the weather is not wet, I will go outside. If the weather is not wet, I will go outside. Can it add normally? Can it add normally? Our cousins were hunters. Our cousins were hunters. What time is check-in? What time is check-in? Isn't it finalized annually? Isn't it finalized annually? You shouldn't be a nighttime scavenger. You shouldn't be a nighttime scavenger. Can't we pass in 2 hours? Can't we pass in 2 hours? He goes to church on Sundays. He goes to church on Sundays. May imply. May imply. Wasn't he an occasional musician? Wasn't he an occasional musician? I express my extra vigorous and fair view of the farm. I express my extra vigorous and fair view of the farm. Could he be a warrior next year? Could he be a warrior next year? It shouldn't matter after one night. It shouldn't matter after one night. Should I go to the undertaker now? Should I go to the undertaker now? He could not always come back. He could not always come back. Will he? Will he? We must act quickly to prevent further damage. We must act quickly to prevent further damage. The middle of the week is usually when my energy is highest. The middle of the week is usually when my energy is highest. After 5 weekends you are not busy. After 5 weekends you are not busy. Was my sister a beekeeper? Was my sister a beekeeper? I'm going to the post office to mail a package. I'm going to the post office to mail a package. Shouldn't they catch it every day? Shouldn't they catch it every day? Our niece is an artist. Our niece is an artist. After 4 nights the chef should do it. After 4 nights the chef should do it. I'm not sure if I'm ready to go yet. I'm not sure if I'm ready to go yet. We could not agree. We could not agree. Are my cousins watchmen? Are my cousins watchmen? They were free to leave the building after the fire alarm went wrong. They were free to leave the building after the fire alarm went wrong. We have to abide by the rules set by the state. We have to abide by the rules set by the state. 1 year later you will jump. 1 year later you will jump. Are we going to be architects every day? Are we going to be architects every day? I will never forget the happy moments we shared together in our relationship. I will never forget the happy moments we shared together in our relationship. Can't it be replaced after 1 day? Can't it be replaced after 1 day? Couldn't they have denied it 4 weeks ago? Couldn't they have denied it 4 weeks ago? You're going to the gym later today. You're going to the gym later today. It won't demolish the building after 1 weekend. It won't demolish the building after 1 weekend. Can't I cry later? Can't I cry later? Was his father the weatherman? Was his father the weatherman? Extends next year. Extends next year. A program is a set of instructions for a computer. A program is a set of instructions for a computer. Don't we separate? Don't we separate? Don't you need to be seen? Don't you need to be seen? The disease spread rapidly and affected many people in the community. The disease spread rapidly and affected many people in the community. Human trafficking is a big problem all over the world. Human trafficking is a big problem all over the world. Were your parents detectives? Were your parents detectives? I'm in the room with the tools. I'm in the room with the tools. Wasn't she a nurse a minute ago? Wasn't she a nurse a minute ago? It is not decided immediately. It is not decided immediately. We couldn't be assistant cooks a week ago. We couldn't be assistant cooks a week ago. Can you review? Can you review? No afternoon downloads required? No afternoon downloads required? Did they collect? Did they collect? Shouldn't we ever be bounty hunters? Shouldn't we ever be bounty hunters? They cannot win. They cannot win. I don't want to lose a lot of my stuff for magazines. I don't want to lose a lot of my stuff for magazines. The population of the country is increasing. The population of the country is increasing. Were our parents writers? Were our parents writers? We can settle in 3 weeks. We can settle in 3 weeks. We didn't become blacksmiths right away. We didn't become blacksmiths right away. His niece was an ecologist. His niece was an ecologist. Can he race after 2 nights? Can he race after 2 nights? His cousins were historians. His cousins were historians. The clouds were above the highest peaks. The clouds were above the highest peaks. We have to cook it every week. We have to cook it every week. Was my sister a washerwoman? Was my sister a washerwoman? They wouldn't make a deal. They wouldn't make a deal. Should grow by noon. Should grow by noon. You don't often become CEO. You don't often become CEO. They will normally be geologists. They will normally be geologists. Our colleague was a chemist. Our colleague was a chemist. Translator 2 minutes ago. Translator 2 minutes ago. You can do it at night. You can do it at night. Was his nephew the gardener? Was his nephew the gardener? Would he try? Would he try? Translator at dawn? Translator at dawn? By the time the book is finished, she will have been reading it for 3 weeks. By the time the book is finished, she will have been reading it for 3 weeks. Don't we check? Don't we check? You lie down at midnight later at 2 a.m. You lie down at midnight later at 2 a.m. When is your birthday? When is your birthday? 1 year later? 1 year later? Will I not name? Will I not name? You didn't cut 10 years. You didn't cut 10 years. May I be interested? May I be interested? You were hopeful last year. You were hopeful last year. Had I settled in at noon? Had I settled in at noon? Can we be dockers in 2 months? Can we be dockers in 2 months? Suspects. Suspects.